Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome to Stat of the Day. I'm your host, OmegaPit, and this is going to be the final video relating to the Pokeforum Tour Season 3 Match of the Day. So, you've seen all the matches, we've had all the highlights, the drama, the gossip. Now we're going to get into the cold, hard stats. That's right, this video is all about the stats of the Pokeforum Tour Season 3. The most used Pokemon, the most used formation, the most picked boosters, everything. We're going into detail here about everything you can imagine. So, with that said, I'm going to start off with general stats, and then I'll move into each player's personal stats. Okay, so let's start off first of all with the league stats. So we're going to start off with the booster packs. So not surprisingly, the most picked booster was the KFC Bollard. Obviously, we've got certain people like Jerky who only picked the KFC Bollard, so that's pushed up their numbers quite a bit. So yeah, that's the most pick pack. Then you've got Friend Zone again. Surprisingly, because I remember early season that was one of the least picked boosters, but obviously with Min's Stonk, Stink and Think, that must have generated interest, so people ended up picking it quite a bit. So that had that's second most pick. Third, we've got the Data Miner with 12 picks. And then the rest, well, you've got Hoyle's Hole with 10 picks, Vegan Creative, OK Blackheart, Yoshi Bike, all joint on 9 picks, Grace's Aces, and Wet Room Wall with just 7. So surprisingly, only 7 picks for Jeez, that's so hard to say quickly. Wet Room Wall. And finally, Big Sugar with only 5 picks, which is good to see because no one wants that Big Sugar packs. Okay, so there you have it. That is the booster pack. So next up, we are going to look at the top 20 Pokemon. So surprisingly, maybe the most used Pokemon, which was used 19 times overall, is Heatran. I'd say that's kind of surprising because it wasn't one of those key Pokemon, you know, like, I don't know, Luke's Jellicent or Declan's Ditto, Hoyle's Swampert, Joe's Dracovish maybe, you know, or the Delibird, Grumpig, Ampharos trio. I think it was kind of like a background Pokemon that was just, it was casually used by everyone as a support in Mon. And due to that, it's it's the top most used Mon. So there you have it. Second, you got Ferrothorn, which is no surprise really, seeing as you had Declan using it almost every week in, week out. I think a few others were using it quite often as well. It's a solid defensive Pokemon. It's going to be used in most teams, to be honest. So yeah, no surprise there that it was used 15 times overall. Third, we've got Zapdos. Zapdos, another one that you didn't really stand out, but because once again it's such a good one defensively and it just does its job so well, it was put in most teams to do just that, you know, to do its defensive job. So I definitely, it's joint third with Swampert, who I feel definitely stood out more than Zapdos, because like you'd say, oh, Swampert is joint 3 with Zapdos. You think, oh, joint 3 with Zapdos. That's strange, because like Swampert, you had the early season Rick Swampert, which was, you know, putting in the work as well. Then you got Hoyle, who's using Swampert, his Mega Swampert. So yeah, that was definitely no surprise to see it up there with 14 uses. Like Melmetal, that's another surprise that it was only used 13 times overall, so that's fourth. Because you'd see Jerky was using it, Louis was using it, I I think even Rick was using Melmetal in the end. So yeah, a lot of people were using it, but clearly maybe we just overestimated its effectiveness, or how much it was used anyway. Then you got fifth, Vaporeon and Rillaboom. They were used 10 times. No surprise for Rillaboom. Rillaboom was starting to be used a lot. I know Joe, for one, was definitely a proponent for the Choice Band Rillaboom. That just did a lot of damage. Luke was using it as well. I'm not sure if anyone else was using that, but yeah, Rillaboom, no surprise to see it joint fifth with Vaporeon. Next up, we've got Cinderace and Magearna. Magearna, obviously, its numbers being boosted by Jerk using it quite a lot. Likewise with Cinderace, seeing as Roo used Cinderace quite often. And then we got Crobat and Corviknight, Dragapult, Jellicent, Serperior and Ampharos, all joint 7th with 8 uses between them all. Crobat obviously being used a lot by Rick, Corviknight by Jerky and Roo. Dragapult, another one used by Rick a lot. Jellicent being Luke's Keymon, and Serperior being used quite a lot by most people. And then obviously you got Ampharos, which was one of Min's main Pokemon, and even Declan used it once, I believe. So there you go. And then the rest are Azelf, Clefable, Ditto, Scizor, and then Excadrill and Copperaja. They are the remaining ones. Obviously you've got a load of other mon, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. I just chose the top 20 Pokemon. So yeah, there you have it. That's the Pokemon usage stats. So let's have a look now at the formations used by most players. So let's have a look at this graph here. I did minimum 3. So no, if they were used less than 3, I didn't take into consideration their usage really, because it would kind of skew the results, because you can use one formation once, win with it, and it'd have 100% win rate. So that would kind of skew the results really. So minimum amount of use is 3 here. So as you can see, the top used formations were 2-2-2 and the 1-1-3-1. No surprise to see 2-2-2 up there. That was used a lot by everyone really. More so Declan, because he was a fan of that balance formation, and the 1-1-3-1, which was used heavily by the more offensive players in the league. Then you've got second with 1-2-3, another more offensive lineup that was used 8 times. The 2-1-2-1, which is a more like a balanced variation with the 2 central defenders and then a supporting defensive midfielder, and then 3 attacking ones. So yeah, another that's definitely a more balanced formation. That was all 7. That's the third most used. Then you've got the 0-2-4 that was used 6 times. Min being one of the abusers of that formation. Coronavirus. And then some other players definitely used 0-2-4 as well. Then you've got the reverse of the 2-1-2-1, which is the 1-2-1-2, and the 2-3-1, which were tied on 5 uses each. Then you've got the 1-1-4 and the 2-1-3, that were used 4 times as well. And then finally 3-2-1, 3-1-2, 0-2-3-1, and the 1-3-2, all tied on 3 uses. Surprised that the 0-2-3-1 wasn't used more often, but I'm guessing a lot of people just consolidated that into the 0-2-4 or the 1-1-3-1 as well. So there you have it. Those are the most used formations. And now let's have a look and see which were the best formations, which ones gave their players the best results. So I've got another graph here. There you go. Formation win rate. So the formation that had the best results was the 0-2-3-1, which was used 3 times, and each time it was used, the player who used it won. So there you go, best formation in the league. Then you've got the 2-1-3, which had a 73% win rate, I believe. Well, let me load up the doc because I've kind of just improvised this really. And then there you go. So that, yeah, 75% win rate. Then you've got the 3-2-1, which was used 3 times, and that has 2 wins and 1 loss. So that's a 66.67% win rate. Same for the 1-3-2, that was used 3 times, 2 wins and 1 losses. So yeah, once again the same. And then you got the 1-2-3, that was used 8 times with 5 wins and 3 losses. So that's a 62.5% win rate. And then the 2-3-1, which is used 5 times with 3 wins and 2 losses. That's 60% win rate. And wait, no, so that's 2-3-1. It's used, oh yeah, used 5, yeah, my bad. And the 1-2-3 was used 8 times, had 5 wins, yeah, okay. Then you got the 2-2-2, so that's just averaging 55.56 win rate. So it was used 9 times, 5 wins and the 4 losses. So just like itself, it's a balanced win rate, almost 50-50. And this, exactly the same for the 1-1-3-1. It's 9 used 9 times, had 5 wins and 4 losses to it. So yeah, they're both on par for the win rate. Next up, you got the 2-1-2-1. That was used 7 times with 2 wins and 5 losses. So that's just a 28.57% win rate. Oh, I skipped the other ones. I've jumped ahead there. Yeah, you got the 0-2-4 with 6 uses, but only 2 wins and 4 losses. So yeah, 33.3% win rate. And then you've got the 3-1-2, which is 3 uses, 1 win and 2 losses. Then you've got the 1-2-1-2, which is used 5 times with 1 win and 4 losses. That's 20% win rate. And finally, the 1-1-4, which had 4 uses and lost all 4 times. A big user of that was Jerky, so that might explain a little bit why its win rate was so low. So there you have it, the formations and their win rates. I think that is that. Yeah, you got the formation. Let's open the stat book up. So now we've got the individual player stats. So in no particular order, we're going to have a look at each player's stats for the league. So we're going to start off with Luke. So when this page loads, I'll be able to tell you. Shitty computer. In your own time. There we go. So Luke, let's have a look at him. Luke's stats. So his most picked boosters were Hoyle, which was picked 3 times. Vegan Creative and Data Miner then joint second with 2 picks each, and the rest being the other packs and Megastones. He ended the league with a Pokemon difference of plus 11. So that's obviously, Pokemon difference is basically the amount of Pokemon you killed and you had knocked out. His formation wise, Luke used a different formation week in, week out, with the 2-1-2-1 being used twice because I'm taking into consideration the playoff matches. So yeah, that's technically the most used formation, but most successful formations weren't actually that. It was the 2-1-1-2, which 6-0'd Joe, and the 1-1-3-1, which 6-0'd Louis. So those are tied for his most successful formations, and his least successful formation being the 2-1-2-1, which was the formation that he suffered his biggest defeat to, and that was the 5-0 against Hoyle. And then next up, you've got his favourite types. So he used overall water Pokemon 12 times, fire and ground are tied on 11 uses, and steel and grass were also tied on 9 uses. And then his top 3 most used Pokemon were Jellicent, Rillaboom, and Excadrill. So, like I said before at the beginning of the video, Jellicent being one of his key players. That was used 7 times overall. And then following that, it was Rillaboom and then Excadrill. So that's Luke's stats. Let's move on now to Hoyle. Hoyle stats are the following. His most picked boosters was his very own Hoyle's Hole, which was picked 3 times. And then tied second, you've got Races, Aces, and KFC Bollard, which were picked 2 times. Then his Pokemon difference was -7, not that good. And his most used formation was the 2-3-1, which was used twice, and both times he used it, he won. So yeah, definitely the strongest formation for him. And with the 2-3-1 is that was the formation he used to secure the 5-0 win against Luke. His least successful formations were the 0-2-3-1 and the 6-0-0, both of them formations being 4-0'd by Min and Joe. Next up, his favourite types were water and steel, which were used 11 times, ground and fire, which were tied second with 10 uses, and then electric, which was used 9 times, which obviously explains why Swampert, Zapdos, and Copperajah are his top 3 most used Pokemon. Swampert being used in almost every single team, and Zapdos seeing quite a lot of usage as well, 8 times, and then Copperajah 6 uses. Next up, we've got Rick. So surprisingly, not surprisingly, but his most picked booster was Wet Room Wall, but it was only picked 2 times. I definitely thought he would have picked it more, but that wasn't the case. He only picked it twice. His Pokemon difference was +3, and his most used formation was the 1-2-3, which was used 5 times. So definitely one of the players who stuck to his formation, stuck to his guns. And with the 1-2-3, he had his biggest win, which was against Jerky, and that was a 4-0 win. His least successful was when he changed that formation and went for the 1-1-3, and that lost against Roo 2-0. And no surprise, his most used types were water, flying, and poison. Water, using 16 different water types, or basically a water type 16 times, followed by flying type 14 and then poison 13, which explains why Crobat, Dragapult, and Toxapex are his top used mon. Actually, it doesn't explain Dragapult being up there. Let's have a look. I think Dragapult might have been he's dragon type 10 times, but he used more poison types. That's why Dragapult didn't get in. The dragon type didn't get into his favorite types, because he used more poison types more often than not. Next up, we've got Mr. Charisma himself. We've got Min. His most picked boosters were Friendzone again, Data Miner, and Yoshi Bike, each picked 3 times. His Pokemon difference was a whopping +15. His most used formation was the 006, which he used 2 times, and his biggest win coming from that, which was against Louis when he 6-0'd him. His least successful formation being the 042, where he was 4-0'd by Declan. We all remember that QRM sweep in week 7, I believe, I think it was week 7 or week 8, one of those. His favourite types were Psychic, Fairy, and Electric and Flying. Psychic being used 14 times, Fairy 12, and Electric and Flying joint third with 10. And obviously, to the surprise of no one, his most used Pokemon were Delibird, Grumpig, and Ampharos, and Mimikyu as well. All of them were joint top used mon with 4. That's only 4 uses, but they're his top most used mon. Min obviously changing up his team quite a lot, especially in later stages of the league. The first few weeks he had he used the same Mon a few times, but then at the end he stuck to his guns and used the cute Mon. Next up, we've got Declan, the king of balance himself. His most picked booster with a whopping 5 picks was Friend Zoned again, followed by Big Sugar and KFC Bollard on 2. His Pokemon difference was a solid +9. His most used formation was the 2-2-2, to the surprise of no one. That was used 4 times. And obviously his biggest win being with that formation, and that was a 5-0 win against Louis. And his least successful formation was the 1-2-3, which it was only a 3-0 loss. It wasn't not that big a loss, but there you go. Just goes to show that even when losing, he doesn't lose that badly. His favourite types was normal, which once again, with him using Ditto and Lopunny so much, that's no surprise. Grass being his second most used type, and then Steel and Psychic. So yeah, Ditto was his most used Pokemon by far with 7 uses. Then we got Ferrothorn in second place with 5 uses, and then Dragonite 4th. And I believe Lopunny is not up there because Lopunny he only used it 3 times, if I remember correctly. You got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he only used it 3 times. But it feels like he used it more, but he didn't. Next up, we've got Louis. He doesn't have a most picked booster because he picked 1 of each. That's it. I think he only picked 1 of each and then maybe bought a Megastone and nothing else. His Pokemon difference was -22, which would explain why he finished penultimate. The most used formation was the 3-1-2, which he used twice, but his most successful formation was the 3-1-1-1, which secured him his only win, his 2-0 win against Jerky. Oh no, it wasn't his only win, but it was the biggest win. And his least successful formation was a 2-2-2, where Min 6-0'd him. His most used type were Flying and Steel, Grass, and then Ground. His favourite Pokemon being Vaporeon, Ferrothorn, and Melmetal. So there you have it. Vaporeon definitely being one of his staples. Well, Ferro and Vaporeon being staples in most of his teams because he was definitely one of the more defensive players, and that was his defensive core back then. Then we've got the Bollard boy himself. No need to guess what booster he picked the most. It was the KFC Bollard with 9 picks. Also on -22 Pokemon difference. His most used formation was the 1-1-4, and his most successful formation was the 2-0-4 because that only lost 1-0. It was only a 1-0 loss. And his least successful was 1-1-4 because, well, among all those losses, that was the formation where he suffered the biggest loss, which was a 6-0 against Joe. No surprise that his most used type was Steel with a whopping 45 uses. Then we have Fire in second, and then Psychic Bug and Rock all joint third. Most used Pokemon being Heatran, Sizzle, and Melmetal on 7. That's roughly mainly because with Jerk's teams that he gave me the screenshot, because there were only 3 teams. It wasn't a week by week thing. I couldn't properly count it, so it was a guesstimate really. So I'm assuming that these are Heatran is definitely one of his most used Pokemon, and Melmetal. Sizzle, it might not be Sizzle, could be Magina or something, but doesn't matter. Then we've got Joe. Joe's most picked booster was the booster named after himself, OK Blackheart. His Pokemon difference being a positive, well, +13, and his most used formation was a tie between 4 different formations. You got the 1-1-3-1, 2-1-3, 0-2-4, and 1-3-2. So definitely a player who changed up his formations. The most successful out of those being the 0-2-4, where he 6-0'd Jerky, and his least successful formation being the 2-1-2-1, where he was 6-0'd by Luke. His most picked type was a Fire, and that saw 16 uses. Then On the opposite side, you got Water, which was 15, and then Dragon, which was used 10 times. His favourite Pokemon were Infernape and Heatran, with 5 uses between them, well, for each of them. And then Dracovish and Weavile, which were used 4 times each. So yeah, there you have it. Next up, we got Roo. Roo doesn't have a single boost he picked the most because he picks one of each. Only left or finished the league on -4, which isn't too bad. His most used formation was the 1-1-3-1, which he used 4 times, and that gave him his biggest win against Jerky, which was a 4-0. And his least successful formations being the 2-1-2-1, where he was 3-0'd by Min and Luke. His favourite types were Flying and Water, followed by Ice, and then Steel and Bug. And his favourite Pokemon were Cinderace and Corviknight, which we used 6 times, and then Frosmoth, or Frosmothra, as he liked to call it, which was used 5 times. Then we've got... No, that's it. That was the last one. So there you have it. I believe... Yeah, that's everyone. That's the lot. Yeah, I'll post the tour teams. I don't know if I'll do that during the video or at the end. You'll see when I upload it. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done now. I posted all the character cards with the radar graphs, but let's go over them again quickly. So yeah, you got Declan, the King of Balance. Declan has a mastery over each of the necessary skills in Pokemon and is capable of building the perfect team, which doesn't rely on any one strategy and is solid in all areas. So yeah, like we saw during the league, Declan was the master of balance, perfecting both offensive and defensive teams, and that reflected in his final league position, which was also mid-table, I believe. So yeah, Declan was definitely a player who challenged the top players. It wasn't a free win for them. So yeah, it made everyone, try their best. Let's see who we got next. Declan. Hoyle. Let's see when that loads. So Hoyle, what he lacks insight, he makes up in strategic vision. Hoyle has no need in changing his team to counter his opponent. Instead, he uses his tactical brain to steer the battle in his direction, weaken his opponent, and then strike him when the moment is right. So yeah, Hoyle changed up his formation quite a lot, which is why he's got quite the high strategy points. Leaning slightly more to offensive teams, but yeah, not too much, because obviously he relied on a wearing down of his opponent's teams to then strike with his offensive Pokemon. And 6 try-hard points because, well, he try-harded a little bit. Next up, we've got Jerky Boy. Let's see. I want to load. Oh no, I don't have the league picture. Oh well. Come on, Jerky. Right, so the Bollard Boy. Jerky uses powerful team of KFC Bollards to smash through his opponent. By using Trick Room, he can subvert his Pokemon slow speed and abuse their massive attack stat to pulverize his opponent's Pokemon. So even though Jerky had the worst league record, he was definitely a proponent of offensive football Pokemon battling. Didn't really change up his formation that much, which is why he has low strategy points. Definitely not a try-hard, because he only picked the KFC Bollard and just believed in his Bollard boys. Which is also why he doesn't have a high variety point, because he always used the same Pokemon, basically. So there you have it. Then you got Joe. Sun, rain, sand, hail. The four weathers lived in peace until Joe arrived. Possessing mastery over each weather enables him to overwhelm his opponent with boosted attacks that can cut through any defense. So yeah, maximum try-hard points because he was obviously the biggest try-hard in the whole tour. 9 in offensive, in the offensive attribute because he definitely was a proponent of more offensive battling. 9 in a variety as well because, believe it or not, he did have a different team each week in most cases and changed up the Pokemon he used. And then only 4 strategy points because what with being a proponent of more offensive battling, he stuck to very similar formations. So yeah, there you have it. Then we've got Louis. The wall of Pokeforum. If you wish to defeat Louis, then you need to try and attempt to take down the powerful walls he holds in defense. Whilst you try to break them down, he slowly weakens you with secondary effects until you're too weak to put up a fight and finishes you off with his Melmetal. So yeah, the most defensive player in Pokemon. That's why he's got 9 in the defense attribute. Not many points in try-hard, strategy, or variety because he stuck to his defensive walls, so didn't really change up Pokemon wise and stuck to more defensive formations, which is the reason why he's got lower strategy points as well. And he didn't really try hard either, so yeah, that's why he's got low try hard points. Luke. So Luke has the highest strategy points because he used a different formation every single game almost. 9 in try hard because he was just as much as a try hard as Joe, and 7 in the offense attribute because even though some people considered him a more defensive player, that's not actually the case because revising his teams and lineups, they were definitely more offensively inclined. The only thing being that because he had such solid defensive plays and defensive walls that counteracted most people's offensive capabilities, I think that's why they thought he was a defensive player, but that's not actually the case. High variety as well because he used a lot of different Pokemon week in, week out. So yeah, that's the reasoning for that. Min, no need to explain why he's got 10 in the offense, being the proponent of the zero defense style Pokemon battling. And yeah, Min's offensive style is often touted as the Gegenpress of Pokemon, like constantly putting the opponent under pressure and not letting them get their foot in the battle. Min is the master of zero defense, full offense battling. 0 in try hard because using Delibird, Grumpig and Ampharos you can't be a try hard. I think that's 6 in variety because although he repeated those 3 week in, week out, he did change up the other 3 in most cases. But because he stuck to very offensive formations, he's got lower strategy points. And I forgot to read Luke's description. Sorry, Luke. Who's missing? That's Min. And I think that's... just got Rick left now. Rick and Roo. So Rick, another weather abuser. Rick is an expert at utilising the rain to boost his team's attack power. But not only that, if you should find yourself getting a foothold in the battle, you'll have to get past his trusty Toxapex to even dream of winning. So yeah, another offensive battler. Definitely more of the try-hard as well. And then strategy and variety wise, because he stuck to the same Pokemon in most cases and the same formation, this lowered his strat points and variety points. And finally we got Roo, the Galarian Goliath. Roo utilises powerful gargantuan Pokemon to crush his opponents alongside his favourite Galarian trio of Frosmothra, Cinderace and Corviknight. His Mega Tyranitar will annihilate anyone who crosses his path, so challenge him at your own discretion. So there you have it. Roo with 7 offense points because he did go for mostly offensive teams. Low variety because he stuck to those same Pokemon really week in, week out. And same with his formations, he stuck to that too. So there you have it. That has been Stat of the Day. And I'm your host, OmegaPit. And those were the Pokeforum Season 3 stats. And that's it. That is it for Match of the Day. There aren't going to be any more videos now for quite a while. Who knows, whenever the next tour is. So hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, there's nothing left to say really, apart from see you all next time.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll read it clear. I'll read my notes, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. Late at night I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. I need a hero, I'm holding out for a hero. Today is match of the day and the lineups are coming to you. By now you should have somehow figured out what teams you're gonna use. Pokeforum IRC, now it's dead. Silver leaves, move to Discord, don't you know? Pandemic, here you go. COVID-19, new police, esports, trick or treat. Pokemon Mafia, jokes of Peter, wait, that's Joe. We didn't start the fire, it is always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Booster packs, mega stones, special guests, ball like boys, ring teams are dumb as shit. Trick room teams can suck my dick. JJ wins, but wait, he cheats. Playoff stock, Blissey's gate. Pokemon are here to stay.